Recently, there was a company, rumors are that it was Amazon, that got handed a $500 million cloud bill in a single month. That $500 million surprise is what it looks like on the high end, but it's the same surprise that's about to hit thousands of smaller companies just scaled down to their size. 5,000, 50,000, their accountants can be pissed. Multiple outlets have covered the story. Neither side has confirmed it, but the pattern matches what we're seeing across the industry. And that's $500 million with a B. They didn't get hacked. Their employees were just using AI, checking the weather, summarizing documents, running agentic workflows with just no real usage limits. The kind of stuff your team is probably doing. Now, that same month, DeepSeek, Kimi, Quen, all pushed frontier class intelligence, which was cheaper, longer context, and more available than it's ever been. These may sound like opposite stories, but they're not. They're really just the same story. AI is getting cheaper, but bad AI operations are getting more expensive. Now, token maxing, that's not a strategy. Breaking down workflows into tasks, routing those tasks with the right AI, and setting up the proper incentive structure, now that's a strategy. And that's what this video is about. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dustin Ogle, co-founder of Linux, and this channel is for operators trying to figure out exactly what AI means for their business. At Linux, the problem we care about is turning scattered AI tool usage into controlled human AI collaboration in workflows. For the next 10 minutes, I want to show you how to think about AI as intelligence per dollar. Not AI hype, not model gossip, not 40 tools you'll forget about by Friday. The question I care about is simple. How do you route work across humans, agents, tools, memory, all without losing control of cost and of quality? Now, today we're using this $500 million AI bill as the warning shot because your version probably, well, hopefully, isn't $500 million. It might be 5,000, it might be 50,000. It might just be one messy quarter where your team uses every AI tool they could find and nobody can really explain what the business got back. So in this video, I'll break down the 3 mistakes behind the bill and also the 3 moves that you can make this week to make sure your company doesn't repeat them. So here's what happened. A large enterprise reportedly gave employees broad access to Claude with no serious spending caps, no real usage dashboard, no per workflow budget, no way to ask, what are we getting for this? Inside of companies like Amazon and Meta, AI usage became a competitive sport. Internal leaderboards ranked employees by token consumption, and productivity was measured by usage, not outcomes, which, if you think about it, really isn't productivity if you only measure inputs and not outputs. And this company isn't the only one with this problem. This is just the biggest one that blew up. And the same pattern is playing out at a smaller scale inside of thousands of businesses right now. Most of them just don't know it yet. And here's what they were optimizing for. Just one variable, just one. Tokens used, right? Calls per day. Prompts per employee, and they're ranking their team on just that single axis. Meanwhile, things like cost and quality and value and trust completely forgotten about. And this is what token maxing looks like, right? Especially when it scales to enterprise. There's a meter spinning 100 times normal speed, and it's just going nowhere fast. And this is what happens when fat bill shows up. This is what happens when a company buys AI inputs instead of AI outcomes. And the team thinks they're being productive, the meter's running, finance gets the bill, leadership is probably left with a lot of buyer's remorse. And that's the trap. Now, AI usage feels like progress. More prompts, more tokens, more agents, more dashboards. And it sounds silly to say, but inputs don't just automatically mean outputs. If a workflow calls a model 80 times and no one knows why, that's not autonomy. That's not the future. That's actually a great way to kill enterprise value. And this is a pain for operators. Your team's using AI, your CFO's asking questions, and you may just not have the answers. And that was the moment that this channel was built for. Now, here's where the story really gets interesting. At the same time companies are getting surprise AI bills, the actual cost of intelligence is falling. Cheaper open source models can now handle most of the individual tasks at a 15 times lower cost premium than the frontier models. And here's the thing, cheaper models alone wouldn't have saved the $500 million invoice, but there's 2 or 3 fixes that would have saved them hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Fix 1, route the right work to the route model instead of sending everything to the most expensive one. Fix 2, stop incentivizing your team to token max. If you just rank employees by the total tokens used, they're gonna find ways to use more tokens, right? Check the weather, summary loops, agents calling agents, right? Again, inputs don't just mean outputs. Companies that win are the companies that design their systems around outcomes, right? Not usage. And that's what routing actually looks like. This diagram, for example, and it's just an example, but using a frontier model for planning and verification and the parts that need judgment, then using a cheaper model for execution, the workhorse, right? The heavy lifting, the suggestions and subagents. Then at the end, a human or a frontier model reviews the final output and makes suggestions back to the cheaper model. This is the operator lesson. The future is not just one giant model doing everything. The future is routing work to the right level of intelligence, making that concrete. Imagine a sales workflow. A customer has a call with your team. The transcript comes in, the system needs to summarize the call, identify action items, draft a follow-up email, maybe check the CRM and decide whether or not the deal is high risk, and to alert the right person. This is not just one AI job. This is actually 6 different tasks bundled together. The transcript cleanup can go to a cheap model. The CRM lookup might not even need an AI in the first place. And the follow-up draft can start with a cheaper model and then get polished later. Now, the risk level to assess the risk or which person should handle that count, that maybe needs a stronger model. And the final decision still needs a human. All 6 jobs go to the most expensive model. You're not being strategic. You're just paying a luxury tax on work that should have been routed between models and humans. And that's the difference between using AI and operating AI, orchestrating AI. Most companies making AI bets right now are making one of 3 mistakes. Now, I'm not saying this from my high horse. Right? These are easy mistakes to make. The shame's not making the mistakes. The shame is refusing to catch them and improving. In fact, these agents can even improve themselves, but that's a whole nother video. Now, mistake number 1, buying access, not outcomes. Everyone gets Claude is not a strategy. Everyone gets ChatGPT is not a strategy. An outcome sounds different. Reducing response time on inbound leads. Turning sales calls into follow-up tasks. Finding people at risk of no-shows before their appointment. That's what you should be paying for. Now, if you can't write down the business outcome in one sentence, you didn't buy a system, you bought more inputs and probably a fat bill. Mistake number 2, using one model for everything. This feels really smart at first. Hey, let's just use the best model, Opus, right? But that's like driving a Ferrari to the grocery store. It's nice once in a while, but it's just wildly impractical. And some work in planning really needs frontier intelligence, but most tasks actually don't, especially individual tasks, not an entire job, right? Basic drafting email doesn't need the same intelligence as pricing a deal, or tagging a support ticket and categorizing it doesn't need the same intelligence as deciding which customer is at risk of churning, right? Cleaning up call notes does not need the same intelligence as designing the next quarter's growth plan. Now, if every task goes the same model, you're not using AI strategically, you're using a very expensive default setting. And mistake number 3, no spend visibility. This is the one that gets operators into trouble. Don't worry too much about this if you're just beginning, but most companies can't answer the simple question of what did we spend last week, not last quarter, not after accounting closes, but really what did we spend by team, by user, by workflow, whatever it might be. You just want to have a process. Now Peter Drucker, a really famous business manager, said, what gets measured gets managed. And if you can't manage it, then you're just depending on luck. Okay, 3 moves to make this week. Now, after your AI committee meets, by the way, if you're doing AI by committee, you're probably not going to make it, right? So this week, number 1, pick one workflow. Do not start with, where can we use AI? That question just takes you nowhere. AI can be used anywhere. Start with a better question. Where would better speed, quality, or follow-up actually make or save money? That's how you find the best bang for the buck. Here's a quick checklist, right? A workflow is probably a good AI candidate if it happens every week. It takes real human time. The output is easy to judge. That's really important. And the mistake would be annoying but not catastrophic, right? Better speed or quality would affect revenue, cost, customer experience. These are measurable outcomes. If it checks 4 or 5 of these boxes, then it's probably worth testing. You also want to just rank order the top priorities, right? The crazy thing about AI is they can do almost anything, but you shouldn't start trying to have it do everything. You should pick the high leverage opportunities. If it's a rare, emotional, high risk, or relationship heavy task, don't force AI into it. In fact, I would not start there. Not everything needs AI. All right, number 2, break the workflow into tasks. Don't ask, how do we attach AI to this? Ask, what should the final output be? Then you think about what are the inputs necessary, right? And once you know the output, write down what has to happen before that output can exist. For example, let's say you have a sales follow-up call after discovery. Step 1, transcript arrives, right? That's the input. Step 2, summary gets created. Step 3, CRM gets checked. Step 4, next steps get identified. Step 5, Follow-up emails get drafted. Step 6, someone reviews the final output. Now the routing becomes obvious. The transcript summary can go to a cheaper model. The CRM lookup probably doesn't even need a model. The email draft can use a cheaper model or open source model, and the risk check may need a frontier model. The final approval probably needs a human. But this is a practical version of intelligence per dollar. Now, number 3, measure value, not AI usage. You want to pick a workflow, pick one workflow, make predictions about the time or money saved. Run a pilot for 2 weeks, then compare the before and after. How long did it take? Before. How long does it take now? Did the quality hold? Did the team actually use it? Did it help drive revenue, cost, response time, or customer experience, any of the major KPIs? Did anything measurable go up? Right? That's the scorecard. This is where incentives matter. Do not reward your team for just using AI more. Reward them for better output, for faster response time, for measurable KPIs in the outputs of your business. That's the difference between AI theater and AI operations. You pick the right workflow, you break it down into tasks, and you prove the value. It sounds really simple when you break it down like that, right? Now, next week, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about our intelligence per dollar equation, which is the money ball for AI. Throughput is just one variable. Cost, quality, value, these are the other variables. Now, that's what every business needs in their back pocket to understand before they sign any sort of AI contract, because that's where most of the leverage is hiding, in these other 3 variables. Now, if you run or operate a business and your team's already using AI, this is the frame I want you to remember. AI is getting cheaper. Undisciplined AI operators are going to get more expensive. The winners are not going to be the company that uses the most tokens. They're going to be the companies that know how to get the most intelligence per dollar. Again, token maxing is not a strategy. It's about redesigning your workflow to natively integrate human AI collaboration. This is what this channel is for. Drop a comment with your biggest AI surprise you've seen the last 90 days. I want to read them. I want to see what the best ones are, and I'll probably turn them into future videos. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.